Take the children to the class.
Excuse me, I'm going to let Hayden go first.
We are ready to say it and send it to her saying,
May God be with you.
Thank you. In the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We have a seat. I do think fancy when I write down my sermon in my Google Drive. I like to put the color of the liturgical season in the page. It's great. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Mother Liz, to give me again a chance to preach. And, this could be pretty much one of my last sermons with you guys, because the moment to leave the parish is coming. It will be January the 8th, and I will be reassigned to another church, because the bishop wants the deacons to move every 3 years to different churches. We are just a few, and we have a lot of parishes, more than 100. So that chance to give a chance to other parishes to have a deacon. So I'm going to have a transition process, so the following 2 months will be a short sabbatical for me before they send me to another church. If you don't know why, ask the people who attend the adult education class today. Or ask me later. Well, I thought about this the entire week before to make the decision to make this comment in this sermon. I think about it because I didn't want to be exposed to you. So what are the secrets of my life? And it is, oh God, I'm going to say it. I had watched more than 100 soap operas for all over Latin America. Venezuela, Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, Spain, bunch of them. What I never expect is that knowledge will help me with the sermon today. Which means Joseph was thinking, ooh, Mary's pregnant. And let's face it, I didn't touch her. How this could happen? I know how it could happen, but he didn't want to expose her publicly because he still loved her. So he decides to be apart. This is a story of 99% of the stories of the soap operas in Latin America. Analyzing the situation, I took 2 cases. Case number 1, the guy fall in love with the girl gets pregnant, and he thinks that belongs to another guy. Even the difference to Joseph, something happened, so it could be his. So he decides to leave her. Option number 2, she's pregnant, but she didn't want to tell him because there are some situations that they cannot handle. She's poor, he's rich, she's rich, he's poor. Or she has engaged with another guy, and she cannot break the engagement because she has to save her family. So the other guy decides to take care of the child, to marry her. I don't know who's the parallelism case. It was from the Bible to the soap opera, or the soap opera to the Bible. I think it's the soap opera to the Bible. But this thing is showing us something that we refuse to understand about the people we read in the Bible. They are humans. I mean, they were like us. Jesus was human. Jesus has human attitudes. Is somebody think that Jesus didn't suffer when he was on the cross? Shame of you. He raised his eyes up and said, Father, why did you forgive me? You forgot me, sorry. I'm here. That hurts. What we do? Well, how much longer? He was upset when the people trying to turn the temple into a mall, selling stuff. They said, wait a minute. This is not a mall. This is a house of my dad. Get out of here. They were humans. I mention this because sometimes we think that this person was perfect and they were models. And they were models somehow. David, the king. They were models, but not necessarily to show the way how to be. Sometimes they were showing us the way we don't have to be, or we shouldn't be. Because they have passions, mistakes, errors, like any of us. This year for me, personally, has been very hard. And a couple months ago, somebody told me, well, but why you're suffering this much with this process? You are closer to God than many other people. Why? Because you're a deacon. Really? I didn't know that. Because I'm a deacon, but I'm exactly another person like anybody else. And now I get upset, like I was when I was driving, or something doesn't come out when I have, or I'm suffering when I doing a coverage in CNN. One of the hardest coverage I have in CNN that are suffering loss was when we have the shooting in Sandy Hooks in Connecticut. 18 hours of work, and when I get into my car, I have to cry a lot before I was able to drive back home. We are like anybody else. Yes, when you're working in the news, exactly when you're doing your job as a deacon, the adrenaline is working on you, and you have the talent or the capacity to work and do what you have to do. But when that adrenaline comes down, the emotions comes up, and you're like anybody else. So God has to use his grace to go through the social structure at the time Joseph was living to touch him and tell him what's going on. And Joseph has two options. It could be the dream or reality was true. Because God thinks, oh my God, the script is screwing up. Jesus, oh, no, Jesus not yet. He called one of the writers of the story, one of the angels. You have to go and talk to Joseph. All the way, we're going to be able to save these people from their sins. I cannot save my son. I can save it, but the story will be written differently. I don't want it. And Joseph did what he has to do. How many times we feel that we have a call? Mother Liz won't let me lie about this. When we start the process to be a priest or a deacon, the first thing you have to tell the commission of ministry is how you receive your call. Because we are here because we receive a call. I receive a lot of calls from home, from God, almost every day, all the time. You know that. So when you receive your call, when your human nature needs to be serve God, that's my point. Jesus was human, Mary was human, Jesus was human. We are human. Priests and deacons are not invisible or invincibles. We are humans. We cry, we suffer, we have a hard time. We have to pray to God to help us to go through some things. When I pass through the process I'm passing in my life right now, somebody told me, but every time you come to church, I see you happy, said one of the members of the Hispanic congregation. You don't look like you are suffering. Of course, because I'm a deacon, so I leave my suffering away because I'm coming here to help with the suffering of my people here and the needs spiritually or material or whatever they need. I need to be there for them. I'm not coming here to say, I'm suffering today, please. Except when I have my gastritis, because you can see it in my face, I'm suffering. Jesus was born because the human nature of Joseph listened to the voice of God. And we need to listen to the voice of God. Always. When I had the first process, when I thought I will be able to be a priest, that was in 2012. The process they put me, they clarified my mind because they made street immersion with us. So we made a very close contact with homeless people in downtown Atlanta, and that's when I understood that maybe it's not the priesthood. Maybe it's something else, but I don't know what it is. And at that time, the conditions for me to be a deacon were not established. The time of God is perfect, and the time of God said that the process for me will be happen 4 years later in 2016 to be a deacon. We spent the night in the street with the homeless, with the support of the Archdeaconess Fuller and the Canon Alicia Schuster-Werner, who spent the night with us there. I remember because when we had to go to the bathroom, somebody asked, who wants to need to buy the coffee? Let me know. Because we had to go to the nearby Waffle House, and you cannot use the restroom if somebody doesn't buy something. So the plan was the following day, we were to put a table in a parking lot, have a service and communion there with the homeless people, and then we're going to the places where many churches paying vans and cars with food for homeless people, and we're going to have breakfast with them. Unfortunately, there was an event, I think it was a race or something in Atlanta. Many streets were closed. They were never to reach Church Street. That's exactly Church or Trinity Street, I don't remember, when we are supposed to be. So the only thing we could do was the service, the communion. We pack everything, take it to Archdeacon Fuller truck, and I walk all the way up to CNN to get out of my car in the parking lot, come home. I called my wife, and she said, cool, then we'll wait home. I'm going to make a nice breakfast for you with everything you like. You can take a shower, take your breakfast, and go to the bed. Oh, sounds like a great plan. Doesn't. But when I was driving, my mind stayed there in the place I spent the night, thinking about that the people we went to visit that day, they were still there. And it was cold because it was end of October. And they were still sleeping in the street, and maybe they don't have any food in the entire day because the closure of the streets in downtown. And again, another night, and again, another night. When I go into my house to have a warm meal, a nice shower, clean dress, and a nice sleep, and a very comfy bed. By the time I reached my place, I was in tears and asking God to forgive me to be happy, to have the luck, to have such blessings that all of us has, and sometimes we don't appreciate it. We need to be humans like Joseph, to listen to the voice of God. God doesn't like perfect people. And you know why? Because he knows that perfect people doesn't exist. Oh, I have a spiritual life that's better than anybody else. Wrong. You have the spiritual life you need. But maybe you need another spiritual life differently than her, or her, or her. Because we have our own spiritual needs. But if in our spiritual needs is not the need to help others, we're doing something wrong. Remember when I did the first sermons with Mother Liz, and I asked her what's the commandment that Jesus brought us? Yeah. And you stay like in somebody very lowly say, love your neighbors as yourself. Well, love your neighbors as yourself. Say it louder. And Mother Liz said, we have a lot of work to do here. I remember that. You have a problem. I have a great memory. I'm an elephant. And the first thing we have to do is review what we do to do what God is calling us to do with this important commandment. We're human. We make mistakes. But we can fix it. And we can redirect our Christians' priorities and open the doors of this church to help others and receive visitors and receive visitors in need and help them. Amen.